Ladies and gentlemen, it was not a good week. It was not a good week for a lot of fantasy owners, and I'll tell you why. One of the top wide receivers with a massive ankle injury, Cooper Kupp. All right, first of all, we're concerned about his health. I want to get that straight. We want to make sure Cooper Kupp is healthy. That's the first thing on our minds. Secondarily, though, a lot of people's fantasy matchups ruined by this injury, and nothing you could do about it. Nothing you could do about it at all. It's a part of fantasy. Everybody goes through it, and I wish him nothing but the best and the quickest recovery possible. More than likely, I would have to say, sounds like he's going to be out for the year. Sean McVay said it didn't sound good. All right, it's one thing when a coach says it didn't look good, but then he says it doesn't sound good. Massive red flag, in my opinion. What do you do if you have Cooper Kupp on your team? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about every lesson learned in week 10 of the NFL fantasy season here. Before this video does begin, I just want to remind you guys, please be hitting that subscribe button and dropping a like on this video. We are on the road now to 200 subscribers. Thank you so much for 100. Let's get into the video here. Starting it off with this Rams-Cardinals game. Like I said, Cooper Kupp injury, more than likely out for the year based on what it sounds like. This Rams offense in general looked terrible again. I don't know how many weeks I can watch this offense. I'm watching this because I had Cooper Kupp on my fantasy team, and I got to sit through this every single week watching the Rams go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Overthrows, underthrows, doesn't matter. The whole offense looks horrible. I'd say Allen Robinson is a decent pickup if you do need a replacement for Cooper Kupp, but I'm not too confident in it. I'm really not. I'm not like,
oh yeah, this is my lock and load #1 wide receiver if Cooper Kupp is out.
No, that's not the case whatsoever. Also, Kyren Williams got a little bit involved later on in the game, had a couple catches here. You do like to see that, but I would like to see him involved a bit more because Cam Akers played horribly again. Darrell Henderson got a kind of garbage touchdown, when they were already down by a lot. But Kyren Williams came in, 1 carry for 9 yards. Then he had 3 receptions for 30 yards. I want to see him get more involved in this offense. I think he could be a real playmaker. A lot of people were telling you to stash him earlier on in this year when he was on IR. Could make an impact on this team, and they desperately need it. On the other side of the ball here for the Arizona Cardinals, they had to start Colt McCoy, and he looked pretty decent. I can't lie. Did not look nearly as bad as the Rams offense. James Conner looked back to almost 100% from his injury, scored 2 touchdowns, which you like to see if you're a James Conner owner in fantasy. Hopkins, basically QB proof at this point. He played a great game, 10 catches, 98 yards. No touchdown in this one, but still, you'll take those points in PPR or standard. Not too big of a deal. More so PPR, but still. And Rondale Moore, viable wide receiver 2, in my opinion, or flex option every single week here on out. Like I said, it's Colt McCoy or it's Kyler Murray. Either one, these guys are performing, so why not play him? All right, next game, we got the Tampa Bay Bucks against the Seattle Seahawks. Couple lessons that I learned here. Go get Rachaad White right now off waivers. Lenny got injured later on in the game, but even when he wasn't injured, Rachaad White was outpacing him in carries by a couple. It was mostly split, but actually Rachaad White had a couple more carries, like I was just saying. So go get him off waivers if he's there 100%. You might need to start him next week. Mike Evans, I have him in a couple leagues. He is really just being super mediocre right now. And I said it coming into this matchup. I didn't love the matchup at all. Chris Godwin actually had a pretty good game, but Mike Evans, 5 for 54, no touchdowns again. Come on, you're expecting a little bit more out of Mike Evans at this point. And a very positive note for Kenneth Walker owners here. He had 8 targets out of the backfield. He struggled on the ground mightily, all right? 10 carries for 17 yards. So when he has a bad game on the ground like that, it helps so much when he's going to get 6 catches for 55 yards out of the backfield. You love to see that. You're very confident going into the next couple of weeks, rest of the season with Kenneth Walker. Even if they're trailing in these games, I'd expect him to still get a good number of points for your team, which is awesome for you. All right, next up, we have the Bills versus the Vikings. Not much new here to talk about. Josh Allen clearly wasn't 100% healthy, but still played a decent game in my opinion. Justin Jefferson absolutely went crazy. Of course he's playing me, dude. The 2 times that I gotta say something. The 2 times that Justin Jefferson has played me this year was week 1 when he had 35, and this week when he had about 38. What did he have? 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Or 16 targets, my bad. You gotta be kidding me, dude. I can't catch a break here. That's just my luck in fantasy. One more note in this game. Gabe Davis actually had a good game. All right, I want to see that consistency keep up. I said that in my last video where I was a little bit worried about Gabe Davis. I wanted to see some consistency from him. He provided it right here. He has 2 more easy matchups in a row. I want to see that continue for Gabe Davis. and I would continue to start him at least for these next couple of weeks until he plays a good defense again. All right, if we move on to the Lions versus the Bears, obviously Justin Fields is a must start every single week. He's a weapon on the ground, absolute weapon on the ground. 13 carries, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, almost a 40-point fantasy performance from Justin Fields. That's absolutely crazy. And this means Bears running backs, in my opinion, right now, cannot be started at all. Justin Fields is too much of a weapon on the ground. We have Herbert here that got 10 carries for 57 yards. Montgomery, 9 carries for 37 yards. Not good if you're owning Bears running backs right now at the moment. The only Bears running back that you want to own is Justin Fields. Also, the wide receiver side of things for the Bears, wouldn't feel too confident playing any of these guys unless you have Cole Kmet in a tight end league. I play in a league that doesn't have tight ends, so no Cole Kmet, but you can use them as a flex in the league that I'm in. We're not using Cole Kmet, but if you're playing in one of those leagues, Cole Kmet is a viable option. Darnell Mooney, not too confident. Only 4 targets, caught all of them. 4 for 57 yards. It's a decent day, not a great day. Fields only attempted 20 passes, so I mean, you can't really get too excited about that. On the other side of the ball, Amon-Ra is back. Amon-Ra had a great game here. 10 catches, 119 yards, 11 targets. You love to see that. That needs to keep happening for the Detroit Lions' #1 receiver. And also here, Jamal Williams is the running back that you want, in my opinion, until further notice. DeAndre Swift, another touch. This guy keeps finding the end zone somehow when he does absolutely nothing the entire game. 6 carries, 6 yards, 1 touchdown. Saved his day. He had 1 catch for 6 yards out of the backfield. I don't feel confident at all starting him right now, but he keeps finding the end zone somehow on these poor weeks. Jamal Williams is clearly the better option at this moment in my mind. All right, next up we have the Broncos versus the Titans. Jerry Jeudy got injured early on the ankle again. That is definitely not a good sign. But what I'm looking at here is Courtland Sutton should have been stepping up into this wide receiver 1 role like he did earlier on in the season. And he had a decent week. He had like a mediocre week. 6 catches for 66 yards, which is going to be 12.6 points in PPR formats. Not amazing. Not what you would have liked to see from Courtland Sutton. I don't really know how I'm feeling about him going forward. On the opposite side of the ball, Tennessee receivers, even with Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, doesn't matter. I don't want to start any of these guys right now until I see any form of consistency. Tannehill, 36 pass attempts, and the top guy was Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, or Akine. I don't even know how to say that. No, I don't want anything to do with it. Thank you. I don't want anything to do with it. All right, next up, we're going to move on to the Jags and the Chiefs here. Christian Kirk is the #1 lesson that I learned here. He should be locked up in your lineups every single week. 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. He consistently stays having these good weeks silently. Nobody's talking about Christian Kirk, but he should be in your lineup. He's getting a lot of volume. I love what I'm seeing here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not do anything out of the Chiefs' backfield. All right, this is Pacheco's backfield. If you own Pacheco on your bench, whatever the case may be, you might want to think about starting him in the weeks to come. But as of right now, he's not really a #1 running back, #2 running back, even a flex play. So I'd sit on your hands if you have him on your team. Kadarius Toney should step into Juju's shoes here. He did get injured early on in this game, which is a little bit concerning. I hope he's all right. Seems like it could be a concussion type of thing. Might be out 1 to 2 weeks at most, but Toney should step into that wide receiver 1 role while he is gone. All right, on to the Browns versus the Dolphins. Not too many lessons here other than Jeff Wilson dominating this backfield. I mean, Raheem Mostert still had a good game. This is looking like more of a split backfield, but I mean, you're comparing 17 carries from Jeff Wilson to 8 from Raheem Mostert. Mostert took more of the passing game over with 4 catches rather than Jeff Wilson's 2. But Jeff Wilson did have 5 targets. So I'd lean Jeff Wilson if you're going to try to play one of these guys over the other, in my opinion. Amari Cooper on the other side of the ball is a real question mark here. 3 targets in a game that you're losing the entire time. Why? Should be your #1 wide receiver on the team, but he's getting, 1/3 of the targets that Donovan Peoples-Jones is getting. I just don't understand that. I need some consistency out of Amari Cooper these next couple of weeks, and I think we do get it. I think he gets back on track next week. I don't really know what was going on in this one. Moving on to the Giants-Texans here. Dameon Pierce did not have the best game ever, and this is what I was saying in my last video. If he doesn't have a good game against the Giants, you need to be buying low on this guy. Trade for this guy right now before he starts popping off. You're gonna regret regret it if you do not. I'm telling you right now, Dameon Pierce is going to have better weeks coming up, and this is going to be your last chance to buy in on him. Other than that, I don't want anything to do with this Texans team. They look awful. None of the wide receivers are consistent at all. So keep that in mind. Do what you want with that information. And on the other side of the ball for the Giants, where are Darius Slayton and, Wan'Dale Robinson? Slayton had 3 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown, which is a good game, you would think, but 4 targets. Wan'Dale had 2. This game was dominated by Saquon, and you got to think this is the way it's going to shape up if the Giants are winning games from the very beginning to the very end. Saquon, 35 carries, 152 yards. Daniel Jones only attempted 17 passes. I don't know if you can feel too confident starting any Giants wide receiver other than maybe Slayton. I don't know. It's on the fence though, but 17 attempts, not feeling great about that. If you think the Giants are going to rip out in front early and be leading this game, it's going to be a Saquon dominated game. That's what I learned from this matchup. On to the Saints versus the Steelers. Now, I just can't get a grasp on what to do with Kamara. All right, I have him in a couple leagues. I don't get it. I really don't. That's his multiple weeks in a row. He's had down weeks under 10 points after that 40-point performance. 8 rushes, 26 yards, and he gets 3 catches for 19 yards. Like, this is another offense that I just hate watching. The Saints offense is god awful. Andy Dalton is just not a good quarterback. I'm sorry to say it. On the other side, Najee looked pretty decent today. All right, he left the game for a little bit, got evaluated for a concussion, I believe, and then came back in the game. I think his best games should be ahead of him, and he played a lot better today. But I would still go get Jaylen Warren on the side if you have Najee as a handcuff, or even if you don't have Najee, just in case something happens like today where he exits the game for a little while. Maybe in the future, God forbid something happens to him, then you would play Jaylen Warren, if Najee Harris misses time. But I'd go pick him up. I think he's worth it just in case, like I said. The wide receivers on this team, Deontay Johnson, 5 targets, George Pickens, 4 targets. They really need more action. I'm going to be honest. Kenny Pickett is just not doing it at quarterback. They were winning this game on the ground the entire time. If they weren't leading, I don't think Kenny Pickett does a good job at all in this game. So this is another situation. I knew this game was going to be very sloppy, and it was on both sides. Both offenses just look very ugly in my opinion. Next up, we have the Colts versus the Raiders. Jonathan Taylor, this was his big game that we were talking about, guys. And in the past videos, we were saying once he has that good game against the Raiders, this would be probably your last chance to sell him high, and I would still think about doing so. Just take a look at his schedule, see what you think. I think it's very ugly. I don't like how this Colts offense is working, how the offensive line is looking. I'd be selling Jonathan Taylor right here. I think it's his highest value for the rest of the season. I'm also very worried about Michael Pittman Jr. Paris Campbell had a much better game here. 7 catches, 76 yards, 9 targets, and a touchdown for Paris Campbell. Michael Pittman, 7 catches, 53 yards. But Michael Pittman's catches are way closer to the line of scrimmage than Paris Campbell. He doesn't have that real breakaway speed ability that Paris Campbell does have. So I'm very concerned about Michael Pittman. I'm not loving him for the rest of the season. I got to be honest. He has some bad matchups coming up. Just like Jonathan Taylor, obviously they're on the same team here. I think Paris Campbell is worth the pickup though. I don't know if I would start him over Pittman just yet, but I'm close. I'm close to thinking about it. Also on the other side of the ball, Devontae Adams, another massive game. I wanted to see some consistency in targets out of him. He had another week, 14 targets. He's locked and loaded number 1. I'm not even debating, if he's gonna have a bad game now. I think he's locked and loaded, just 20 plus points every single week here. He should, as long as Derek Carr is consistent, he's going to have a good game every single week, I think. All right, last but not least here, I am recording this on Sunday night before the Sunday night game, so not going to be covering the Chargers and the 49ers game, unfortunately, but Cowboys Packers here, going to end it off on this. CeeDee Lamb is that guy in Dallas when Dak Prescott is back on the field. When he's on the field, come on, CeeDee Lamb, an amazing day. 11 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 targets. You got to love what you're seeing out of CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott looked pretty good other than a couple interceptions that were just iffy. But fantasy-wise, not too bad. Dalton Schultz also, if you're in a tight end league, is a must-start at this point. He had another great day. 6 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. You'll take that all day on 8 targets. Tony Pollard, like I was talking about in the beginning of the week here with my running back rankings, I said if Zeke missed time, or didn't play in this game. Tony Pollard's a must start. He had a great game again. He had 3 catches for 13 yards out of the backfield on 6 targets, but 22 carries, 115 yards on the ground, and 1 touchdown. You're loving what you're seeing out of Tony Pollard. He's explosive. He's that guy in Dallas. I don't think Zeke is as explosive as him, but Jerry Jones loves Zeke. So what are you going to do? On the other side of the ball, Christian Watson had a massive game, 3 touchdowns. Although I don't think you should be running out to waivers, you know, spending all your waiver dollars on him or spending priority on him. I don't know. I think this is one of those games where Alan Lazard couldn't get going. Robert Tonyan had 1 catch. As for Lazard, like I was saying, 3 catches, 45 yards. That's not going to happen every week. These guys are going to get more involved as the time goes on, so I wouldn't be running out of my way to get Christian Watson. Let me know what matchups you faced in week 10, guys, and if you won, lost your matchups, or if any of this information did help you, make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. On the road to 200 subs. Thank you so much for 100. Appreciate you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.